Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the RationalInvestor.com Broiler Chicken Show. Trade your trading plans. Don't take too much risk on any one trade, and just let yourself get rich. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Rational Investors Broiler Chicken Show. Back. But we already have an intro, so I don't need to do that. Anyway, hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Frivolity. We should have a running count of the episodes. You know how these guys have like, welcome back to episode 537 or something like that, just to show how long we've been on there. Actually, that'd be kind of cool. I wonder, Chris, can we do that? Is it possible to go back and count how many of these Broiler Chicken shows we've done?
I'm sure there is. If not manually, then maybe automatically, but
Yeah,
I'll see what we can do.
cool. And I did notice the other day, I heard you on the call, but when I watched the video later on, I didn't hear your voice. Are you letting these good people hear you on the interneting, or are you quiet?
I am for when I can make it to the OBS mute button before, or as in
Uh,
time when I can make it with the Zoom mute button. There's two
so
mute
many.
buttons, so they can hear
Yeah,
me
I
now
know.
explaining all of this, but not
Oh,
all the time.
cool. Right on. I would love to have Chris more part of the conversation. He's an incredibly brilliant gentleman, and half of the reason why this show actually is as good as it is, half, probably three quarters. So the more Chris we have, the better, in my opinion. Anyway. Oh, interesting. Josh volunteering to count manually all episodes. Cool. Thanks, Josh. Appreciate that. Not sure where he said that, but I better take a screenshot of that. And other people are like, thanks, Josh. Oh, you're awesome. Way to go, Josh. He's sitting there going, what the hell just happened? All right. Anyway, let's get on with the show. Try and keep the rhetoric to a minimum. Although, I will say, if anything, I hope you all see. Let's start off the episode right off the bat. Everybody, what should you have in front of you while you sit and listen to Brian rant away for a good couple hours here? And you can keep the smart ass answers to yourself. Let's all be serious. There's good, half dozen people here. No, Eddie, that's not it. Thank you, Nore, the only serious guy here. Thank you, Eddie. So, I think this is a really, really good lesson for everybody. And of course, Nore got the answer over there on YouTube correct. And there's, of course, Coke with a nice smart ass answer. In fact, actually, I remember back in my prop firm trading days when I used to do these videos, one guy used to always say, Brian, you are the absolute best person to fall asleep to at night. I just turn your videos on and you just ramble on endlessly, and I'm out like a light. Hey, Bitcoin tastes great. Can't wait. Actually, I don't think Bitcoin tastes very good right now, especially at all the noobs who FOMO bought and panicked went long there right at the top of the market. Way to go, public. You did it again. Anyway, what you see happening around the world, the problem with the Beamish is the Beamish has been playing this game a long time, and I'm a really big fan of cycles. And I think you can actually make the argument that we don't actually really ever do anything new, even though you think we're doing stuff that's brand new. But every generation, and usually it takes like a full life cycle. So by the time the people that were adults that went through exactly the same part of the cycle last go round, by the time they're dead, that's when we repeat the cycle. And it kind of sucks. And, there's an old adage, if you don't learn from history, you are doomed to repeat it. That's a good one for your journals. Write that down. I've been at this silly game in the market for 30 plus years. In fact, I was with a banker the other day, And I wanted to do some options trading at this particular account that I had open. So you have to jump through a whole bunch of hoops and stuff. And I said that I had actually been actively trading in the market for 35 years. And she's like, geez, I was like in grade school 35 years ago. And she was like an elderly lady. She's like, there's no way you're older than I am. I don't know why I look so young, but anyway, it is what it is. And actually, the hair's going, so and a little bit of gray in the beard now, so not looking so young anymore. But anyway, um, so what you're going to find, and oh, isn't that interesting? That's an interesting statement, Coke. Are you technically dead before you're conceived? That's an interesting philosophical debate, but we don't have that much time. And I always seem to go overboard with the time. So let's try and stay focused here. Yeah, that's a really good, that's a good philosophical debate. Like if we were ever sitting on Eddie's porch enjoying some crop, and we had nothing but time to burn after we sold the top in the market, and we were just sitting there in Portugal or something, just watching the world drift on by. That would be a cool debate to have. Anyway, um, yeah, that's a good question, Zook. Hey, you've opened up a philosophical can of worms there, Coke. All right, so back to our point, or my point. Um, I've been barking about these fear and greed cycles, and really, this is the cornerstone of my teaching. If you do decide to take the level 1 program, the sort of demographic wave, you've heard people talk about like the fourth turning. That's another way to describe this. We talk about the money cycles, the 80-year cycles, all of those kind of just circular patterns in our economy and our society. And really, you could even argue in this species. But one thing you can almost guarantee is that Brian's usually going to be right, but Brian's usually going to be early. So, my cycle thesis said that the last fear cycle came to a conclusion at the end of 2017, beginning of 2018. Ironically enough, Bitcoin went to 20 G's into that event, just a parabolic straight move up, kind of like the way the gold market did in 1980. Everything was right on cue. And then we had this stupid sickness nonsense. And the fact that the Jupiter-Saturn cross was skewed slightly, and it was a Jupiter-Saturn-Pluto cross, which is just like a massive, huge cycle event. It just meant that the transition from that fear cycle into this next greed cycle was just going to be exaggerated and just ridiculously blown out of proportion. And I might argue that into that cycle pivot, 17, 18, if the cycles had just naturally unwound and we moved into the next growth cycle, probably the insanity of what we're seeing in the marketplace probably wouldn't have happened. It might be even interesting just to see on something like a monetarily adjusted basis how much of a new high Bitcoin actually really did make through that 21, 22 cycle, considering the way that they've just, turned the printing presses on. And what they're doing is that they're doing it really cheekily. So while the government couldn't increase spending, because, no democratically elected politician could jam through any sort of more deficit spending, as soon as they got this sickness excuse, the government's just had a fucking field day with spending money they didn't have. And of course, you want a beautiful textbook case scenario. You look at my country and this stupid substitute drama teacher doesn't know what the hell he's doing. And he has no professional experience to be able to be in the job that he has right now. The only reason why he's there is because his father was prime minister of the country 20, 30 years ago. And the previous prime minister actually was fiscally responsible and even actually started paying down the national debt. Like, heaven forbid you actually make the country strong by paying down its debts. Um, that doesn't play well for people who live in a socialist society. So this idiot comes into power and says, "Hey, I could give you all the money I want. I'm a socialist. I'm a communist. Hey, we're all in it together, right?" And he just goes and blows up the country's books. I mean, it's staggering how bad the situation. In fact, actually, that's a beautiful segue. Let's segue that into this week's conversation, and that is that what I'd really like to try and do through these weekend shows is sort of speak to this newsletter that Chris and I put together Sunday mornings um, ahead of this show. Um, so the sort of the scuttlebutt this past week, and I'm sure you're all perfectly familiar with it. But the stupidity of the Chinese economy is finally coming to bear. I'm actually, to be honest with you, I'm actually stunned at how stupid 90% of the public is in the West. They were actually like, when I used to come out and talk about these ghost cities 3 or 4 years ago and saying this is absolute fraud and it's a crime, people would actually get angry at me and say, no, China's the next best thing since sliced bread and it's a whole new world order. I mean, I don't know whether you've seen what's happening in China right now. For the purposes of the newsletter, we just simply talk about how the fact that two of China's leading real estate developer companies, one has actually gone into bankruptcy protection, whatever the fuck that means in fucking China. I mean, that doesn't really mean anything, but it's some sort of, way for them to, justify pushing paperwork from one pile to another pile. But keep in mind, totalitarian dictatorships, if someone's not getting paid, they disappear very quickly. And actually, that's an interesting speculation that's going on right now. Is when was the last time anybody saw fucking Winnie the Pooh in public? Winnie the Pooh might actually be having his stuffing removed from his insides, which would be really interesting. Nobody, I bet, is expecting that, but nobody's seen Winnie in a while. So I think what's tragic about farces of societies like totalitarian dictatorships is this flooding that's going on over there. I mean, wow, that's absolutely incredible what's happening there. And it's all intentional. That's the worst part about it, is that the flooding is intentional. Because heaven forbid we wouldn't want Beijing or, Winnie's little golden city that he built out of nothing that nobody lives in, ghost cities. Wouldn't want those damaged. So, are we now finally at sort of the final reckoning stage of this idiocy called this Chinese real estate bubble nonsense? I put out tweets and stuff to the effect. I mean, it's staggering what's going on over there. If you all think in the West we've got it bad, holy crap. Wow. Actually, it's interesting. Stuart just joined us there on the call over there on YouTube. And, I gotta say, man, I thought it was interesting. I don't think this will show it, but last week's newsletter highlighted this idea of TRI's FA crypto guru. So this was Seward's idea. He was telling us about it last November, December. Do you think if you had listened to Seward last November, December, would you be a happy camper here? And that's why you're at these sites, isn't it? I mean, is this not worth the subscription to just come in. Sjord talks to us every Tuesday about what he's seeing in the market and site development. Of course, Sjord himself, that's the gentleman that you see there in the YouTube chat. He's the guy who's responsible for building all this coding. So that was last week's idea, one of Sjord's gems. And then this week, not to be outdone, here he comes again. This is another one of Sjord's gems. It's just absolutely incredible. It just goes to show it's probably worth your while to try and be a rational analyst. What is rational analysis? Well, it's the juxtaposition of good fundamental ideas coupled with half-decent technical timing signals, right? And this is such a beautiful analogy of like multiple cars and the way you can use technical analysis to magnify your returns. I mean, if nothing else, TRI brings it with just incredible fundamental analysis. Way to go, Stuart. Just absolutely brilliant. You just keep doing this. Just keep doing this shit. And the good part about this, right, is we're heading into the cycle. If Sjord's ideas are doing this, while Bitcoin is doing this, blah, big hurry up and do nothing. Just imagine what these damn things do when Bitcoin's like doubling in price, tripling in price. These things go absolutely insane. It's kind of funny in hindsight because we need to teach Sjord how to take profits. But Sjord was long. He was originally interested in Luna around, it was about 60, 70 cents, somewhere in that area. He could probably clarify for us. That damn thing went over $100, 60, 70 cents to 100. Isn't that the kind of trade ideas that you're looking for? I mean, damn. I tell you, he knows his stuff. There's no doubt about that. So anyway, okay, so we started off the conversation with a little bit of, well, I mean, you don't want to use the "I told you so" kind of rant, but for fuck's sakes, I told you so. I mean, how many of you on the YouTube page remember me standing up and yelling out of windows here in Vancouver, "You are buying into a bubble, you idiots. You're going to get your heads handed to you." Does anybody remember that? I don't know. Maybe I know I'm not hallucinating. I distinctly remember doing it and distinctly remember people getting very angry at me for doing that. But now in my country, I mean, this is insulting. They literally, the banks have pulled off the most incredible con job you can possibly dream of. Not only have they built the prices of these assets to the fucking roof, totally just absolutely insane how, I mean, a single family home, I can understand maybe, $500,000 in this inflated world when they used to be like 200,000 or something, 300, but $1 million? And that doesn't even buy you a nice home. That buys you an absolute piece of shit. You want really a nice home here in Canada, it's going to cost you 2 or 3 million. So not only have they built the prices of these damn things up, but at the same time too, this convenient fucking hook, line, and sinker bullshit with these interest rates through this Jupiter Saturn cross. I mean, it was just the most beautifully orchestrated con job. And what's worse is the banksters themselves. You remember Granny, she came out and she said, "Oh, invest, buy U.S. treasuries. They're the strongest. Interest rates are never going to go up." You got to be kidding me. Why isn't it? Why, it's funny. Before we were started, oh boy, there's a whole bunch of lawsuits flying out of the state of Georgia with, Trump and Giuliani and stuff being, racketeering charges and shit. I mean, they're just trying to throw the fucking book at him. Why isn't a single person suing Granny for breach of fiduciary duty? as the U.S. Treasury Secretary, and I that she basically conned the population into believing, and this same thing happened in my country. Oh, do you think maybe this was a coordinated message? Substitute drama teachers actually stood up because, of course, substitute drama teachers make the best economics professors. Even the economics professors suck at their jobs. Alan Blinder, 2000, telling Nortel Networks, laughing at him because the internet was never going to stop growing. And yet, within 3 or 4 years, Nortel Networks president sold all his stock at like $90, $100 a share. In 5 years, Nortel Networks stock was worthless. So who is right there? So substitute drama teachers, they're better than Princeton economics professors, Alan Blinder, doofus. So, I mean, was this a coordinated plan? I get a funny feeling it was, because all of them came out at exactly the same time and all said this message: interest rates are never going to go up. Borrow as much money as you possibly can. And now these people are trapped, and there's solution to this. I mean, the solution, to be perfectly honest with you, is if you can't make your interest rate payment because you made a really stupid decision at the very end of a very, very long-term interest rate cycle, you should walk away from the property. Just walk away. That's the solution. And it probably means a lot of bankruptcy. The whole system has to clean out. A lot of these financial institutions should be forced to declare bankruptcy. But in this corrupt modern day world, do you think that that's going to happen? Do you think that the 1% are going to allow all these financial institutions that were horribly, horribly corrupted through all of this, lending money to people that really probably shouldn't have been given money to borrow, to keep this fucking fugazi bullshit real estate market going? Are any of them going to be held to account? And the answer is really a simple no. But the one good part about this, and I think this is where, our belief in Bitcoin is going to save us, is that Bitcoin should continue to go up as more and more of these bailouts and more money printing. But now what they're doing it is they're actually doing it through government issuance of debt versus the actual Federal Reserve out printing new money. But the point here is that the debt is just going to keep coming and keep coming and keep coming. And of course, in our society, debt is money. So in essence, they're just going to keep diluting the purchasing power of the currency, which should, if they don't royally screw up Bitcoin, big if, we should see Bitcoin price just continually to move up. The only issue here, though, is, we might have $1 million Bitcoin, but at the same time, too, you're going to have to pay $500 at the grocery store for a loaf of bread. That's just the way it's going to be. You don't like it? Here's my dick. Suck it. It's just that bad how our society has gone. If anything, all you proactive people, you got to listen to guys like Stewart. Take advantage of this. In fact, I made a funny joke before we got the video going where I was like, probably the best solution to all of this is just a nice big fat rock come and hit the planet and get rid of this species. This human species is just evil. It's a nasty little species. And the universe would probably be far better off without us here. But then one of our lounge members says, but what about all my banging out doubles? What did I just spend the past year doing? Loading up on all this stuff and getting ready to bang out all these doubles. And now I'm supposed to just abandon that plan? Like, what the fuck? So we'll have the rock, just to make Eddie happy, we'll have the rock hit about 2 weeks after you bang out all your doubles. So you could have like a 2-week Danny style orgy for you there over in Europe. Fucking, right? Get it out of your system, then the rock can hit and clean up this planet. But I'll tell you, the good part about what we do is we should be able to outpace the money printers. It's going to be tough and it's not easy. And for God's sakes, you cannot chase when these things are ripping higher like this. You can't chase. But if if you learn what it is that we teach you guys, especially just in the level 1 program, there's no reason why each and every one of you couldn't have snuck your way in right off the bottom here. And of course, you're sitting on pretty nice returns right now. So, and this is week after week after week. Like I showed you, this was last week's. And if anything, this is what's supposed to happen because, you see down here, let's see, here's another thing you guys should probably write in your journals. How does the expression go? Buy when it what? This is a really good example. Buy when it what? Thank you, Cotter. Hey, Cotter, you're double fisting here. Thank you. Well, more importantly, especially with regard to this one, right? Can I not zoom in anymore here? Oh, yeah, there we go. Look how this was November, December. So if you had come in on this thing in November, December, basically when Sjord told you to. Actually, I heard there's an Indian goddess. There's a temple down in southern India, and it's dedicated to a goddess who had 3 breasts. Isn't that kind of cool? There's an Indian goddess who has 3 breasts. I want to get to know her. Not that there's but she's a houseplant, right? So maybe she's a he. I don't know. 3 breasts. What the hell? There you go, Zugi. Reminds you of what was that movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger? What was that movie called? Total Recall. All right. So point here is November, December. This is when you're supposed to be buying. And now we are, this is basically the whole seasonal rally. And now we're into the summer, right? So it's buy when it snows. And if you haven't heard this before, write it down and sell when it goes. So when we're popping up top here, you should be taking profits and paying yourself for your efforts. This is basically the same thing. I mean, this one's relatively recent. It's taken off. We could probably pull the chart up, but I saw that today and I just went, this is just so TRI. So that's why I included it. And I don't think this thing's done by a long shot. But the problem is you're not allowed to buy up markets. That's the one thing. If you're going to watch and learn from my broadcast, is you are not allowed to chase. Don't chase, don't chase, don't chase. So you got to be ringing the register up here, but you're not allowed to be buying up here. Anyway. Okay, so as we sort of said there, the Chinese real estate bubble is collapsing. And I actually think that sort of as another distraction, because so many people are so wiped out because of the real estate bubble and what a fucking con job it was over there, that I actually think that a lot of the flooding, remember the flooding that you're hearing about here in the West was intentionally done in China. This isn't some act of nature. In fact, there's a whole bunch of Chinese protesting right now in one particular city. I have no idea what the name of it is. And their banner literally says, floods intentional, not caused by natural disaster. Because, the CCP now is going to be able to justify wiping out all these half-built buildings and just saying, well, it was a natural disaster. We can just write it off on insurance. I mean, God, people talk about how the CCP is basically mafia. That is a classic mafioso tactic. In fact, I've often conjectured here that when the real estate bubble popped, and years ago I would talk about when it will pop, I think it is popping as we speak, you start to hear lots of talk about arsons happening in various different real estate developments. That's classic mafioso. If they look like they're underwater, looks like, yeah, no, I'm not even going to touch that one, Matador. I've actually seen talk about that. It's tragic. I mean, God, what's happened to this world? Why has it turned so fucking mafioso? I mean, it's stunning. It's like our society is going backwards. It's absolutely incredible. So anyway, point of the matter here is I actually think that the flooding and stuff that you're hearing about in China is actually the CCP's way of getting out of this. And ironically enough, they're even going to make money on this because they'll be able to collect on insurance policies. And if the insurance companies don't pay up, then you're politely shown the exit and never come back to China. And you're not allowed to do any more business here. Even though we have a billion consumers, are you sure you want to reconsider? And of course, the Western capitalist, money-centered, profit-driven companies, all their morals just disappear in the face of that, and they cut checks for $1 billion just so that they can maintain business prospects and the potential to make money going forward. These silly humans. Like I said, one big fat rock would solve this universe's problems, but that has to happen after Eddie has driven his Lambo around. But we should have a bet. How fast can Eddie get his Lambo going in first gear? 120. All right. So he's even placing bets now. Anyway, there was Connor 72 miles an hour. I remember that. And Sally's face, Sally's face when you were driving, he was just like, "What are you doing to my motorcycle?" That was great. All right, so there's your backdrop of this world, eh? Oh my goodness, what a mess. And now, poor old Canadians. And this is the worst part about all this is, like the Klaus's expression, you will own nothing and you will be happy. With infinity amortization, now it will actually be impossible for somebody to actually pay off their mortgage in this country. It will literally be impossible. Isn't that incredible? I can't believe they've pulled this con job off. Stunning. Anyway, one thing Chris and I did notice when we were sort of going through the news is, of course, we'll talk about it in a bit. Bitcoin finally did break here, and we've been sort of long conjecturing how long it was going to take for this to happen. But one thing we did notice is that we didn't really see a lot of negative news in the crypto space to actually justify a huge break in price. So we were sort of sitting here scratching our heads going, what was the fundamental driver? Like, what caused this? What was interesting about this, of course, as you can see off the breadth indicator, the market itself already was sniffing out problems back there in the middle of July. And you might even argue that if you look at the price charts, things were getting really overextended coming out of June and into July. And then remember, we have that sort of July 4th pivot. And if the market's happy, then you should see a rally coming out of the US holiday. And indeed, we did see that. And, things like NASDAQ were just going straight up day after day after day after day after day. It wasn't sustainable. At some point, the market was going to break. And sure enough, we broke. We've had some absolutely beautiful technical breakdowns. You've, of course, if you don't and you like to have a chuckle, keep in mind Brian's a bit salty, so I'm not very politically correct. So just understand that. But if you do want to get sort of a very frank look at the world, I don't really, I don't sugarcoat stuff. I just say it as I see it. Brian's going to do lots of sort of salty commentary about the insanity of the Canadian economy now with substitute drama teachers, yada, yada, yada. If you do like watching this show, we have gotten the Coinigy shows, the BAT shows, BATT, back up and running. And on Wednesday, we spent a very long period of time through that BAT show, just clearly illustrating that, and if you've never seen this before, maybe you're just watching these YouTube shows for the first time. Like I said, I do this show with Coinigy. Probably the best thing for you to do. And actually, the people watching the show get really nice reviews. They're very appreciative of the show. I think, and Joe, I think this is a good mix because Joe doesn't really know what he's doing. All right, and Nick says he's enjoying my recent tweets on Bitcoin. Thank you. So my mother, ironically enough, was actually a math teacher. And I think that was one of the sort of skill sets that she actually excelled at, was that she was a good teacher of things. Not a very good mother, but we won't go there today. I think that's one of my skills that I bring to the table, is that I can teach people fairly well. So I like using Joe as sort of a template of, very typical sort of public participant who doesn't really know anything about TA. He's got a good story. I think he has a good soul. I always talk about people's auras and karma, and I think he has a very good aura. I sort of feel it when I'm around him, even like online. I like helping people like that out. I mean, I really, all of you know my personal story, and if you don't, maybe just ask around. I have a kind of a weird story. So if anything, in a weird sort of way, I actually asked JoJo, and I look at her picture every single time I talk to you guys right here. She's two pictures of her right in front of me. And I've asked her and Spirit to just surround me with good people. And you people have kept me on the straight and narrow. I don't even know if I'd even be alive right now if it wasn't for the fact that Spirit's brought all of you good people into my life. So thank you, Spirit. Thanks, Jojo. So I like this show, this Coinigy show, the Bat Show, because it gives me the ability to help Joe. I think Joe really could use the help, and I'd like for you to put yourself in Joe's shoes. Just be like Joe, right? He has his notepad out every single show that we do. He's writing 3 or 4 pages of notes. And ironically enough, once he actually gets to the point where he goes, okay, yeah, Brian, I already know this. Yep, I remember years ago you told me. Yep, I already know. Then he's done. And actually, that's the one tragic thing I don't like about what I've done here, is that I see that. Is that once I've taught you guys know the message. You come to these videos and you're like, oh God, I've read this 100 times. I know exactly what he's going to say next. Well, then I'm probably done. And it's time for me to move on to new people. So take advantage of this. If you are in the unknowing camp, just stick around, take lots of notes, and you would. My job is to help all the small people. That ironically enough, if I went to Wall Street and I shilled this as sort of like I'm actually thinking about going to get my CMT designation. I might as well. I mean, fuck, I could write the exam in my sleep. But if I went to Wall Street and I did this, I'd probably be fucking charging 50, 100 G's for this exact same information I'm giving to all of you for free. So anyway, the point here is on Wednesdays. So I like the dovetail of doing the show on Wednesdays with Coinigy. And I would love, Ben, if you're watching, hell, one gentleman, in fact, Paul, that I used to do the show with, he basically built a whole business, and he now has a thriving community of traders. So that was a successful adventure with Paul. Nick, I hope Nick's house in Minnesota is doing okay. Actually, Nick, he learned so much from me that when we were at the top of the market and he saw that, oh boy, Bitcoin's probably going to have to go through quite a bit of difficulty. We got to get back down. I mean, the interesting thing is now we are actually in these reload zones that we talk ad nausea about, right? So when I was doing the show with Nick and Derek and stuff, we were up here, and Nick's like, you know what? I'm going to come back when this goes back into easy mode. And that was a very, very good call on his part, just to leave all this crap alone and just let the market settle down. Anyway, I guess what I'm just trying to say here is use me as a sort of an education conduit. I think that's the best way to describe me. And I will use all of you to try and learn how to be a half decent human. Because I'll tell you, sometimes I feel like it's like I never got the user's manual. And you guys are all such good people. And I just have such a fucking hard time at this stupid game of life. Anyway. All right. I'm not quite sure why I went down that tangent, but remember, Brian's usually right, but Brian's usually early. Hey, there's Paul. Nice job, sir. I mean, God, Paul's going to be richer than all of us put together by the end of all this. So, way to go, Paul. And by all means, if you want to come on as a special guest one of these weeks with the Coinergy guys, I'm sure they'd love to have you on. All right. Yeah. Well said. So Nick says here, Joe gets the Navy SEALs training with you, Brian. After finishing, if he has the willpower, he will do very, very well. And I have to say, if you just listen, take tons of notes. Thanks, D-Bird. I have just a massive lack of self-confidence right now. I don't know why, but I do. Anyway, talk amongst yourselves, right? And all that crap. All right, moving on. China's a shit show. Any of China's vassal states thinking that they could somehow get away from the American hegemony system, substitute drama teachers, they are now a shit show. And I think you might even argue to a certain degree. I think Russia kind of became like a vassal state of China. It's a shit show. And China right now is in the process of trying to hit the reset button and get rid of the bubble. The interesting thing is that they might be able to pull it off in China, because locally, if you say boo, they'll just murder you. I don't know whether they're going to be able to pull it off here in the West. So countries like Canada, I've said repeatedly that since the 2017-2018 pivot, Canada is a short. And Canada should remain a short until about 2035. So where are we? We're 2023 right now. So any and all of you Canadians, just understand you probably still have another 10, 15 years of this shit ahead of us. And it's going to be ugly. And I don't know how bad is. Bad could get pretty fucking bad. Food lines. A really interesting anecdote of how bad it is in situation. Have you guys ever heard of an organization called Habitat for Humanity? Anybody ever heard of that organization, Habitat for Humanity? I think they're kind of like a charitable organization, aren't they? Yes, no, maybe so. Turns out Habitat for Humanity, you would think it's supposed to support the poor, right? Isn't that how it goes? Isn't that supposed to be like, well, you can't afford a home, but we're going to help you out to try and find a home, right? And, try and sort of, make it level. Turns out you cannot even apply for Habitat for Humanity help in the country of Canada if you do not have an annual household income of $100,000. You can't even apply for help from them. what the fuck is going on in this fucking world? Organizations that are actually built and designed to help the poor, they're now, you can't even apply for help from them unless you are technically making six-figure an annual year income. What the hell is going on? So that's how bad this situation is in my country. I wouldn't be surprised if in the not too distant future we have food lines, bread lines, soup lines. And the sooner we get this goddamn substitute drama teacher the hell out of there, and we have some sort of massive capitulation break in the market and hit the reset button, that we can actually start getting back to reality. And it might take 10, 15 years for this to happen. So who knows how long this is going to take. It's going to be a long, slow slog for any country that really sort of hitched their wheel to China. They could be in big trouble. The irony of it all, and this is the message I've conveyed all along here, is, thanks to the policies of Mr. Trump, the United States of America is actually in an incredibly powerful position in the world right now. The only thing that's sort of standing in front of them, and really the only thing standing in front of Canada, because Canada needs to get back to its roots. It's heavily resource rich. We just need to start mining these resources again and bringing them to market. Because keep in mind, substitute drama teachers are trying to put the resource business out of business. I mean, that's how bad it is. So as soon as we get back to sort of what is the actual roots of our country, then maybe we'll start looking at, like I said, Canada actually being attractive again. But what I think the number one thing that has to happen here in Canada is the economy has to break, and it has to break ugly. Like literally, I think house prices should fall by 50%. If they did, and when that does happen, then things would be back to normal. A single family home, maybe a $500,000. That's probably realistic. Out in the boonies, single family home, be like maybe 100, 200,000, just basic sort of, that's what it is. Like if I wanted to go, in fact, actually there was a really cool property down in Georgia that was just went up for auction. 8.5 acres, 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, a huge barn, huge workshop, really nice place. And the closing bid was 350,000. That sounds about right. In Canada, 8.5 acres right now with a finished home and outhouses and workshops and garages and barns and shit, that would be like probably $5 million. It's absolutely ridiculous. All right. So there's your rant about how absolutely fucked up the world's economies are. And it's these commodity nations that are in trouble. Ironically enough, I actually think the United States of America is in actually a pretty strong position. And as I had sort of said there a moment ago, we were actually finding it difficult to find like really negative fundamental drivers that could actually justify the break in prices in Bitcoin and stuff. And ironically enough, other crypto names like Sjord's gift to all of us are actually trying to break to new highs here. So I think if you can, I mean, who can help me here? 2023, what are we supposed to be doing through this year? And if anything, what we should probably do is pull up our awesome blog. And where's that Josh guy? He's just such a fucking boss. What are we supposed to be thinking through 2023? Hint, 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 Benner cycle. So, there is, well said, Eddie. So let's see if you can finish this statement then. So understanding that 23 is supposed to be an accumulation year, and understanding we're not supposed to chase. And if you chase, you're going to get your head handed to you. Anybody who chased up here, that was stupid. Anybody who's chasing up here, that's probably stupid. Current market, anybody who's chasing up here, that's probably stupid. So the question here for all of you is, And again, this is probably a really good note for your journals. Juxtapose, and if you want to take a screenshot of it, okay. Or I can just give you, here is the blog post. Boom. 23 is an accumulation year. So that means that, and let's see if you guys can finish this statement. Pullbacks are what? Nicely said, Nick. Nicely said, Constantine. Good Cotter. Excellent, Nori. So we all know who the TRIOGers are here. Does it make sense that they're probably going to get the market pretty panicky in here over all this Chinese fucking nonsense garbage, trapping all these Canadians in fucking real estate slavery for the rest of their lives? But what, like the way that I'm looking at this, like if Ruin did pull back down into, and what's the magic tool that we should use that makes this really, really easy? It's staring there, you right on the screen on this Bitcoin chart. What is the concept that I try to teach you guys that will make it really easy for you to identify where those pullbacks should be? Yeah, it's really, really easy. Yeah, well, yeah. If you can focus on that 78.6 level, Jesus, that's just an absolute damn gift, eh? So pullbacks are buying opportunities. So, that I did when I went on media, even this just past couple days. Guess what the major media is describing this price action as? What do you think the media is calling this? Of course, they're idiots and they're puppets. And of course, they're told what to say. But what do you think they're calling this? Yeah, that's right, Cotter. I saw on major media, they are calling this a crash when this is nothing a crash at all. That ironically enough, I mean, you can see a typical high volatility candle in Bitcoin, either up or down. This is actually just par for the course. So, if anything, it doesn't surprise me that they're coming out with the crash commentaries when really I would make the argument, and I've made the argument for the past probably month or two now, that I actually think that this thing's carving out some big ass fractal up here, which is a little scary. I mean, if this is the actual low here, and it could be, or maybe I'm kind of thinking because there aren't any bullish divergence here yet, I'm kind of thinking maybe this goes on for the next couple weeks. But I could very easily see some sort of counter trend rally and something like that, and then into sort of October, November, December kind of idea. They have another dumping here, and maybe that's what takes us down into reload zones. I could very easily see that. So I don't think there's anything really shocking going on here whatsoever. And the only problem here is anybody who's relatively new to the market, relatively new to trading, actually the daily chart, I think, describes this perfectly. I have a general rule that says that if you have a market structure top, and this, all we did was we just played to connect the dots. This high right here from April to this next swing high, which was, again, the end of April. That's prevailing trend line. And that was the prevailing trend line through that, Brian's birthday. We had eclipses. FOMC screwed the market. And then the market just like was doing its normal seasonal correction, just everything sort of business as usual. And then all of a sudden, so that's our prevailing trend line, that blue dotted line there. And then all of a sudden, and how typical, right? I mean, nobody can trust that Peter Fink guy. So you know what? I get all verklempt and I get all emotional with you guys. It actually ends up causing me to have to blow my nose, and I don't want my nose to start running. So I'll be right back. I gotta get the tissue. All right, sorry about that. All right, I'm back. People used to joke. This is the guy, the only guy in the world who fucking goes out and does a podcast and then just gets up and walks away halfway through a podcast. I used to do that in class. I'd be like, okay, I'll be back in a minute. All right, sorry about that. And for the record, I did cocaine once, and I didn't even know I was doing it. My wife had a friend of hers who used to be into those kind of sports, and one might argue that was one of JoJo's weaknesses. And we smoked a joint once that had it in it. I know what it feels like to be on that cocaine rush. That was a million years ago. So, and I also know how addictive it is. Woo-wee. I didn't have access to it, so I never, thankfully, ever got dragged into that. After going through that experience, I was like, oh my goodness, I don't want to ever fall into that trap. So I really haven't done the whole cocaine thing in my life. Just doesn't appeal to me. All right, so back to our story here. So Mr. Fink comes out and all full of bluster and all that kind of stuff. Bitcoin ETF, blah, blah, blah. Not really anything fundamental. In fact, I might even argue totally not fundamental. Everything about what they call quantitative analysis or sentiment and, oh, hey, Peter Fink, and he's so rich and powerful. He's saying Bitcoin, I better go and buy. But we have a rule, and it's sort of part of our level 2 education program, trading with trend lines, that there is no buy signal here unless you actually see the W on the other side of the trend line. And actually, we have one gentleman on this site, Nick, I think it is, or maybe it's. I always get it mixed up. It's either Nick or Nathaniel or Daniel, or anyway. And he, we affectionately, we used to call this setup, a W on the other side of the trend line, Ron Jeremy setup. Then we had a lady on the site. She didn't like that reference, so we changed it to her initials. I don't think she liked that either. So we call it an LJ setup now instead of RJ, right? Ron Jeremy. LJ was this lady's initials. And he actually trades that setup like a boss every day in the market, and he loves that setup. So here's a really, really good example of this where the market broke out. But I would actually argue there never really was a buy signal here. This was just like straight up on the inertia of Peter Fink's sort of sentiment orgy. And sure enough, look at that. We're just rolling right back over. And I might actually make the argument that this should be a pretty good trade location. I think that's what I said in the tweets here today. So yeah, I don't know what happens if I just open this up. Boom. I think this will just load. Hey, there we go. Yeah. So I like the idea that this is some sort of big head and shoulders top. Interesting how the 38.2 fib in our education program, we call this the first stop target. Sometimes the first stop is the only stop on the way down. I mean, I don't think it's ever in anybody's best interest to get into the habit of predicting the future. I mean, statistically, I think the odds are that we're going to find some sort of support in here. Why? As you notice that this is actually an uptrend line off of the original bottom. we've actually come down now and in one candle smashed through all three moving averages here. My hunch is they're probably going to have some play with these moving averages over the near term. That would cause that sort of what they call a dead cat bounce. We rally back up, and these moving averages now act as resistance up in here, which might, that would mean maybe our head and shoulders top looks something like that. It's very possible. Also, too, you've heard, just continue this thought here. Candle body lows for trade location. You probably heard me say that once or twice. And oh, gee whiz, look how we dipped right into that level. And we're starting to bounce back a little bit. Wicks and tails like to be eaten. So that's what that exploration is. And, everybody, and keep in mind, this was a very normal seasonal trade. So I think Mr. Fink intentionally said, hey, let's just inject a little bit of uncertainty into the market and let's see if we can run some stops here. And I think that's exactly what this is. That's got 1%, Big Brother, Joey Diamond, all the negative references I make about how the 1% just loves to screw the public over. That's exactly what all of this was, in my opinion. You can't really believe that these are bottoms unless you actually see W's, or you can't believe that these are tops until you actually see M's. So that the fact that we have this shooting star up here and there's all these trap bulls right up here, I can pretty much guarantee you we will be trading back up into this wick at some point down the road. And just as these people who were short here and Mr. Fink got them caught and he came out just out of nowhere and was like, hey, I'm a big dick. So obviously, if I'm talking about Bitcoin, it's going to go up. And it turns out the whole damn thing was just nonsense, just total fluff. Of course, the problem here is that, man, all the crypto kids, as soon as they started to see this happen, they were like, this is it. This is it. We're going to the moon. We're going to the moon. They have no, no history or experience in the market. They don't understand things like 50% rules and, Collins reload or pump chaser zone, beg your pardon, and Brian's reload zones and all that kind of fun stuff. They just don't understand any of that. So they just think that this thing could just endlessly just keep going up and up and up. And the problem here, as I started the conversation off with you guys, is we actually got a pretty big message from the market, the momentum indicators, saying that at the very least, and take a screenshot of this. Follow me on Twitter if you want, because the Twitter tweet about that Coinigy show, and I did it on the Coinigy platform because I think it's probably a good idea. And if I'm going to do the show with them, it's probably best to do it on their platform rather than TradingView. This is gold. I mean, this is what we teach in our education program. You literally can't write this any better. It was absolutely perfect. And actually, even a couple of weeks ago, we had people coming on the videos going, "Hey, Brian, did you forget about that massive bearish divergence in momentum on MACD on Bitcoin?" And I had to pull it up and go, you're right. Look at that, son of a bitch. And I even said here, look at the only way that I can temper this bearishness is okay, fine, go put in a W here. Market come down against these lows, turn back up, and we W out, and that will negate this M. Did we do that? Well, you all know the answer to that. Next tweet, boom, down we go. So as it stands right now, I mean, it's really obvious now. But as it stands right now, if you are a Bitcoin bull, what should you be doing right now? In fact, it doesn't necessarily mean that you need to sell. And I think the Bitcoin story, of course, is perfectly valid. FYI, I bought, or I didn't buy, I was gifted by all of you wonderful people um, a few Bitcoins, we'll say, over the years, and those are basically for Liam. I won't touch them, and they won't be for my purposes. They're supposed to be to buy Liam a home. And ironically enough, I wouldn't even be surprised if it actually turns out that way. That's what Chico Crypto thinks. He thinks that you should be able to buy a house with one Bitcoin down the road. So if that's the case, we should be able to buy Liam 2 or 3 houses. Yeah. All right. Jesus, time goes quick, eh? I hope I said something of value here to you guys today. But anyway, point of the matter here is you can see we've broken to new lows here. Unless there's some sort of crazy ass rally that appears, and keep in mind, this is Bitcoin. Anything can happen in this space. I thought it was really interesting today. Want to see something funny? And this is total aside, so I don't know whether we really want to open this can of worms. But we had a sell order here based on our algorithm on the 16th. The algo that we've built here at TRI is fucking spot on. I mean, is it, if there was ever a sales pitch for you to subscribe to the algo on the 16th of the month, right here, it just happened a week or so ago. Bitcoin spat out, or not Bitcoin, but our algorithm spat out a bearish cross, which is a trade signal. And you can see it happened right here. I had 2.5 hours to act. And unfortunately, I passed out on my couch. And it's so ironic because this was the day that I actually did the Coinigy show. And I was telling people that, well, if you're a bull, you better cool your jets, all this kind of conversation. And I was so exhausted because keep in mind, I start my day at like 5 o'clock in the morning. I was so exhausted that I just went out in the living room and passed out on the couch. And of course, I woke up at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning and I look at the system and fuck me. I completely missed the trade. And I mean, wow, what a trade. Holy shit. The signal comes in here. And, time to look at that. I mean, it's so pretty, right? Nice little signal. Time to go short. Look at that trade. Holy crap. So it is kind of funny that actually the algo told us down here, well, time to get back in on the long side. And look at what Kraken just did here. What the fucking fuck is this? So in a weird sort of way, I actually think Kraken is, I've noticed this because keep in mind, this crypto currency trading shit, it's unregulated. It is stunningly corrupt. So believe it or not, I actually think that Bitcoin is going to work its way right back up top here. Absolutely incredible. Kraken is a wick and tail making monster man. Yeah, you're right. You see this all the time on Kraken. It's just funny. I mean, the irony, the funny part about this, and I just have to laugh at it. Like, this is kind of like the gods are just laughing at me because I had the order to sell working at that original level. Then the team sort of suggested, well, we just got a buy signal on Bitcoin, so maybe we should just kill this order. I went and actually, when I saw that, I was like, no, we should just have the order working. That's the level I was supposed to be selling at. So let's see if we can square up the books and get that done. And if I went and I put the order back in, but then I canceled it afterward and said, well, maybe if this is a buy signal, who knows what's. If I had just left that sell order working at the level I was supposed to be short, I would have been filled. Then the market would have come right back down to the buy level and I could have bought everything back. And I could have been basically that totally scot-free on this trade. But no, the gods are just fucking having a laughing fest with me. So if anything, this is a really, really great anecdote and an analogy for all of you. For all of you people who think that algo trading is actually easy and it will solve all your problems. I would actually make the argument, unless you can actually have the computer doing the trades and executing correctly, which in itself is not easy at all, this algo trading is damn difficult because what it means is you have to be on every single day, every single hour, every single week of the year, and you cannot blink. I fell asleep on the couch and I missed a monstrous trade signal there. Ugh. Anyway, so it is kind of interesting that a day or two ago, I mean, we do have it in the newsletter here. So I don't think I'm really breaking too many rules of the team here to talk a little bit about this, but I did find it interesting that we actually were issued a buy signal right after the dump. So ironically enough, crypto is feeling a little bit better, but just keep this in mind. We had a gentleman on the, he's an OG, Johnny Salmon, great guy. He said repeatedly, and I have to agree with him the more that I track this over time, that if the S&P breadth is pointing in one direction, but crypto gives you a signal in the other direction, just take it with the jaundiced eye. And just understand, as long as this thing is pointing down, crypto sell signals here could translate into really, really big trades. And that's exactly what happened. It was just a quick sell. This little window right here, the entire crypto market just absolutely puked out. And our conjecture when we were sort of putting this together was that this kind of looked like we're getting like capitulation out of China. People are just dumping anything and everything they possibly can and just getting the F out of the market. That's what it feels like is going on here. And I don't actually think this has really a hell of a lot to do with Bitcoin and crypto itself. In fact, like we said, names that actually have a half decent story, they're doing perfectly fine in here. The issue here, of course, is if you look at something like Rune, you can understand if you look at something like Bitcoin on that weekly chart, well, Bitcoin's come a long way. So if anybody, whoops, that's not what I wanted. If anybody actually, oh, wait, which button is it? I guess it's this one. If anybody actually bought Bitcoin when you were supposed to, buy when it snows, you know how all that goes, right? Buy when it snows. And you're sitting up top here and you're kind of like, oh, Jesus, my Evergrande just went bankrupt. My Country Garden, I think that's the second biggest real estate company in China, it's about to blow up. Everything is going to rat shit over there. People can't find Winnie the Pooh, blah, 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 blah. Well, there is those Bitcoin sitting over there. Maybe we should just sell some of them. And I think that's what actually is going on here. So we'll see how it goes. I would highly encourage all of you, in fact, we even sort of spent the better part of the beginning part of 2023 sort of completely redoing the whole website. So, congratulations to Sjord and Josh and Julian and that consultant guy and all that kind of fun stuff. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that they've achieved what it is that they were looking to do. I would actually make the argument if there ever was a time to actually start getting really serious about accumulating crypto, it is now over the next 6 months. That whole idea that, well, Bitcoin bottoms usually 6 months prior to the halving event. We know that the halving event is coming up here, somewhere in April, May of next year. You know that it's coming. You know that this thing likes to bottom about 6 months prior to the halving event. So that puts us somewhere, whoops, that's not the one I wanted. That puts us somewhere. What is this? This is a weekly chart. So that's like 26 weeks or so. So that's somewhere right around here. All right, there's 25 weeks, right? That'd be 52. So 53, 52 weeks, 26, at the middle of October. Now, maybe it's like there. Maybe it's here. I don't know. But the point here is we're finally here, folks. This is your window. We had one lady on the site. I sure hope she's still watching all these free videos and stuff. I know she took the level 1 education program. And of course, I swear like a sailor, especially when I get pissed off about local politicians that are idiots. And she just simply said, why don't we say instead of get your shit together, you stupid idiots, how about get your skirt together. So, and I love that. Again, surround myself with all you really good people. You have good karma, you've got good energy. Hopefully some of it's rubbing off on me. uh, but get your skirt together, you stupid idiots. Now is the window. So, what this is, and this is actually an interesting way to look at it. I don't think we're quite there yet. Like I said, I think we still got some work to do. But right here, it might even do like a little arrow. This is going to be one of these. There's no right or wrong way to read this line. I mean, obviously, if you're here to make money from trading, we want to be looking for opportunities, not running away from them. But when we get into this window right here, this has got this line written all over it. And interesting enough, that's going to be right into a buy when it snows window. So just be prepared. That's all I can say. If you are an investor, if you're an investor, still don't really like the idea of buying up here. If you're a trader, I think it makes perfect sense. Candle body lows, wicks and tails like to be eaten. Whole bunch of trap bears here are getting released. And usually markets don't fall in a straight line like this. There should be some sort of test of the highs. And really, what would be, if this is the low first stop target kind of idea, what would be the natural bounce level? Well, this is everything that we teach. Notice there's a nice wick right up in here, and that's right into that reload zone. And also notice too, the candle body highs for trade location. We've got that wick. There's a whole bunch of trap bears all up in that wick up there. So maybe a revisit to that level right there would probably set up a really cool short window right in there. So I could understand that the traders are going to be like looking for some bottoms down in here, looking for rallies back up top, then looking for dumps down into reload zones and into the end of the year, something along those lines. I could very easily see something like that. In fact, I'll leave this on the screen and let's see how close we follow that over time. If we drill down to the daily chart, again, wicks and tails like to be eaten. This was the Peter Fink fuck you low. Really not a sustainable bottom. V bottoms will need to be tested. So we're going through that test now. You can see 61.8 to 78.6, 88.6. So we just tagged that. If you're like, well, screw the futures trader reload zone. I'm a fan of the venture cap reload zone. 78.6 to 88.6. Well, there we are right now. And what is this 2-bar candle pattern? Let's see if any of you guys know what this is. Who can jump through a hoop for me here? This candle and this candle. What's potentially happening here? And has it actually fired yet? The answer is no. Remember, we saw that Kraken chart, though. Something's a bit suspicious over there. Well, what's that 2-bar candle? Quickly. In fact, actually, I was schooled a term or two ago, because it turns out that the actual Japanese candlestick fans actually do call this a rami. I would call this a bull rami, but Japanese candlestick people, as long as baby's body is inside mummy's body, they'll still consider this a harami. But and make this nice and easy for you. That level is obviously pretty important. And that level, actually, we'd have to go to new lows. That level is pretty important. This is what's called an inside bar. This bar is completely inside this bar. Notice how this bar is also inside this bar. If we get a trade up through these highs and just write it down, 26,264, interesting, 26.26. I don't think that's an accident. That's a big buy signal. And then, interestingly enough, on the downside shoot, theoretically, measured moves, A, B, C, D. We actually should have finished this down move at about 27 and change. And that's right along the 200 SMA. So, remember you saw on that Kraken chart. I think Kraken actually is trying to tell us a little bit about what to expect. I wouldn't be surprised if there's some sort of counter trend rally. I don't know what's going to happen here, but you can see 13 EMA, price usually likes to get sucked back to it. 200 SMA, and then this is the original uptrend line. And usually what happens is what once was support will now become resistance. So you're probably going to bang back up against this trend line from the underside and then roll over, and then we have like continue the fight. What are we? Are we a bull or are we a bear? So you can even see that they're trying to turn the market back exactly where this thing is supposed to turn. Now, the one sort of caveat that's got me sort of, I don't know whether this is really the bottom yet. We've got this awesome divergence indicator that I think the guy's name is John, if I'm not mistaken. And actually, I don't even see him on the site, but now he's off. He's got a WordPress site. He's got the whole damn stock market. He's built out with all the algorithms and shit I've taught him over the years. And you got to hand it to him. I mean, he's an absolute whiz programmer. But anyway, he built this divergence indicator. And this divergence indicator is really, really good at identifying tops and bottoms. So notice we had 4 different confirmed divergences on this move up top. Remember, we showed you up here on the weekly charts, the massive weekly bearish divergences. So when you start seeing this signal, right, we have trade location up top here. I think this was like a 4669. It was a move against previous highs. So you have trade location. Then you get indicator confirmation. We got a whole bunch of confirmed divergences. This price bar alone, that's a bearish railroad tracks, and you should have been thinking down from that anyway. And then we just slowly make lower highs and lower lows. And I think this carved out a bear ABCD. Boom. We actually blew through those lows. If and when we want to see this market start to rally back, you can even see here, we had one confirmed bullish divergence. We don't even have one confirmed bullish divergence. We only have a potential divergence here right now. So I'm wondering whether this is kind of like here, and we got to have one more dump through these lows. So one more dump, maybe down into this 1.618 alt ABCD objective. That would be realistic. Notice candle body lows right here, there. So you can see that's even slightly lower, and that's right on that 1.618. Wicks and tails like to be eaten. These guys would love to be able to get released, these trap bears here, although I don't think they're going to get too released. But I could very easily see, maybe we play around here a little bit in the short term, but I could very easily see one more panic dump, before the counter trend rally in earnest begins, before we actually can turn higher in earnest here. I don't mind the idea of a dead cat bounce here. But at the same time, too, don't be shocked. There's just not many signs of divs here. And really, for this to be a real bottom, remember this line. This is the most important line. And actually, we could probably make one off of this. So I would just simply say, to see whether this lows actually hold, and for real, we need to see a W come in here. But now I would say, just like this, if we actually think Bitcoin is a bull, we're not going to get that message until we actually see a W on the other side of this trend line now. And I don't know how long that's going to take to happen. Wait, keep in mind, this might go down as far as here, then maybe we go there, and whatever. So lots and lots of constructive work needs to happen before we can actually even think of this being a bull again. This is going to take a lot of cleaning up. And my hunch is this plays out through the fall. We get into October, November. Actually, this makes a lot of sense. There is October, November, and maybe we have to actually come and bottom out something like that. And there's your ultimate buy signal for Bitcoin. That to me makes perfect sense. So there you go. Not really much to get too excited about here with regard to Bitcoin right now. And I just find it hilarious that the gods are just laughing at me right now. They're just playing with me. Damn gods. That's Jojo. Jojo's just sitting there chuckling. And in the not too distant future, I don't know how long it's going to be. I think we have a goal. We really want to bring this to market for November. But I can't put a stopwatch on it. Hopefully we'll have the computer take over this job so Brian doesn't look like a total idiot when he falls asleep on the couch and misses a trade. Boo. I mean, just think of our percentage return had I actually caught that trade. And now, I was long, then get out of the longs, then get back into the longs. Everybody who's buying and holding, they just took that 10% punch in the nose. But the algo didn't see any of that. That's why you actually trade algos. Ugh, drive you crazy. But you're not allowed to fall asleep on the couch. Oh well. Okay, so I think we covered everything on the newsletter. Lots of political rhetoric. I think if anything, it's a good thing that China bullshit, nonsense, mafioso crap is finally unwinding. All the people that bought into the China nonsense, they're all sinking now. Anybody who actually took negative bets against the United States, they're probably all probably wishing that they hadn't. From what I understand, the Chinese currency now is actually under attack. And if anything, that's the final straw. And when it comes to Canada, the only solution to this, the Canadian situation, I didn't mention this before, but, any Canadians in the group, there's two solutions to this problem. Number one, as I had mentioned, real estate prices should fall in half, which of course will cause a lot of bankruptcies, a lot of foreclosures, a lot of basically I just made an absolutely horrible decision and I lost all the equity that I put up on buying this $1 million house that's really only worth $500,000. So that's scenario one. But given this woke world that we live in, and substitute drama teachers who are not economics professors, but basically nothing more than sort of junior high cafeteria. I'm running for class president. Look how cool I am. I'm Mr. Popular. I don't really know what I'm doing, but I got a pretty face. So vote for me kind of idea. If we still live in that world, then that scenario does not happen. What the scenario will happen is these central banks, actually, I think it's beyond the central bank now. Central bank is not part of this conversation anymore. The politicians will literally nationalize things like banks. They will create like mortgage moratoriums, and the house prices will stay at the levels that they are. But the currency will get absolutely destroyed in the open marketplace. And it's interesting that nobody's really talking too much about currencies in this kind of environment. But I've made the argument for quite some time that the Canadian dollar is actually a ticking time bomb here. So there is your Canadian dollar. Interestingly enough, our SOF club, we would call this an Adam and an Eve top, basically David's favorite chart pattern. Also, too, this is a big M, and M's within M's. You hopefully can understand the technical picture here. It's not pretty. This is markets have gone way too far. And it's funny how this only goes back to 2021. I really dislike that about sites like TradingView and stuff like this, because this is not a real image of the Canadian dollar. Canadian dollar actually, anyway, it doesn't matter. Point here is this is sort of the worst, and actually it even was like this in the last greed cycle. Canadian dollar bottoms. This was the fear cycle. Everybody buys commodities. Of course, crude oil went up to 100 some odd dollars a barrel. Canada was a buy, and Canada was a really, really good buy down here. I mean, you can see the W. Beautiful. Absolutely textbook. Also, too, our conversation earlier about trendline breaks. I mean, you can see the three tags, 1, 2, 3, big W's on the other sides of trend lines. Most incredible buy signal. And that's really what you all should be looking for in your lives. I don't know whether I really get that same message now. If we just draw trend lines, boom, 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 I get the impression we're kind of like doing the 1, 2, 3. So this is not a good place to actually be a buyer of Canadian dollars. And what I'm worried about here, given the conversation about the fundamentals of this country, which are an absolute train wreck right now, folks, I think that we're doing something like this, where this is actually going to turn into a trend continuation trade. So, or what's called the bot. So if I was gonna be, sort of counseling people on what to expect going forward, I hate to say it, but I actually agree. I think the currency in Canada is worthless because the stupid our country was in the world's eyes is based on it being a commodity country, and we've got a ton of commodities. But I'm hearing that forest fires are being intentionally set. That's kind of odd. Why would that happen? I'm hearing that legislation now trying to be jammed through our federal government is going to make the use of all these wonderful commodities we have illegal in our country. I mean, this guy's like hell bent on fucking bankrupting the country of Canada. I don't know why. Oh, I know why. Because he works for a guy named Klaus. I wouldn't even be surprised if he is not even Canadian. Turns out he was actually born in Cuba. Anyway, another conversation for another day. But that's what I see for the Canadian currency right now. That's not a pretty picture. And from what I understand, I don't know whether I can show you this or not, but from what I understand, the Chinese currency is now finally under attack, which actually should be super cool. So this is an inverse relationship. When this thing's going down, I think that's how this works. So when this thing's going down, the Chinese currency is getting more wealthy, or Chinese are doing better. And when this thing's going up, Chinese are doing worse. I think that's the way this works. I never remember these damn Forex things. But it is interesting to see that the Chinese currency is under attack. And of course, the other BRICS people. Hey, how's that Russian ruble doing? What a fucking joke. And I don't know whether, yeah, well, I guess I'm not quite sure how this works. I don't know whether I've drawn this up correctly or not. But from what I understand, the Russian ruble is actually now at like all-time lows. So I'm not quite sure. Maybe this might have been an anomaly or something. Oh yeah, I've been hearing people talking about how it was over 100 recently. So this was when the ruble was the strongest when they first invaded Ukraine. What a shit show that is, eh? And it's been coming off. Actually, interesting from a chart technical perspective. All we did was just fill in a gap here now. So anyway, the point of the matter here is I think that the commodity country nations currencies could be in a bit of trouble here. And then, finally, another commodity currency we want to keep an eye on. How's the Australian dollar doing? That doesn't. Australian dollar looks, and of course, it's much more closely tied to the Chinese currency. I mean, I don't know. You guys tell me, what letter of the alphabet do you see staring you in the face? This is a weekly price chart. Do we have any business stepping in the front of that? And of course, V bottoms. Are V bottoms sustainable over time? Kind of notice here how this was a V top, and so we had to come down and rally back up. The M top here is boom. That is a massive sell signal there. And I think that this is all basically based on the whole China fiasco. So maybe we do things like chaos theory to start painting downside objectives. Ooh, and I like this. Notice how 2.618 is basically going to take out these lows. So, like professional traders, Nebraska, my old boss at Top Step, he used to have a setup where basically he used to just buy and sell against key highs and lows, kind of like what you see here. He'd short that move right there. So if anything, it makes sense. There's going to be some chaos coming in against that low. And then notice, look at the next chaos level. Oh, it happens to be against this low. And we can probably also do up things like chaos off of this top. So do we have any confluence? You can start to see now this 4669. It makes sense why the market pivoted off of that 2.618 and worked its way back up against testing that original top. then broke down, came down to 4669s, right? Like a boss, rallied back up. I think you can actually even do a fog and bomb off of that range as well. So we got some pretty juicy downside targets here. Another commodity currency. This does not bode well for China or Russia. And do yourself a favor, folks. Forget about that stupid BRICS nonsense. That's people grasping at straws. And I'd be curious to actually even see if Winnie the Pooh's even still alive. He might be dead, you know. Anyway, and actually, interestingly enough, does it not make sense that if Winnie the Pooh is dead, then that means China's going to go into chaos, which should be massively deflationary. And if Bitcoin is our ultimate inflation proxy, then it would make sense that Bitcoin price has to come back down to earth. It's just common sense. I hope that makes sense to you guys. Maybe it doesn't, but to me, that's just common sense. You guys are all thinking that Bitcoin's going to be your digital gold. I mean, hell, why don't we take a look at gold? What's it doing? These, gold and I think Bitcoin are actually inflation proxies. I can't see the damn chart. Looks like we rallied right back up top, but I don't know. You tell me what letters of the alphabet are you starting to see? So gold's coming up to a very, very interesting level here. If we start closing below this low here, $1,900, big psychological level, well, then we can start doing things like fog and bombs, right? And interestingly enough, 2.618 is going to take us back down against this original double bottom and against this tail. Wicks and tails like to be eaten, blah, blah, blah. So that target does make sense. And again, if Winnie the Pooh is dead, if China's spinning into deflationary spiral, I don't know whether you've seen those videos of the floods. I mean, it is like literally cities are underwater and nobody gives a fuck in the CCP. They just don't care. I mean, that can't be inflationary. That's got to be deflationary if I've ever seen it. So, point of the matter here is, just mentioning it when we were doing our look at the commodity currencies, it actually doesn't surprise me that Bitcoin actually looks a bit heavy here. It doesn't surprise me at all. And you all really got just the most beautiful lesson. Number one, this is actually, I didn't even mention this before. Number one, I think, is our, which one is it? I guess we'll do this one. The confirmed bearish divergence in the MACD histogram. I mean, gee whiz, this is the most beautiful message. Like I said on the Coinigy show, this is from the futures markets now. Cool your bloody jets. That was as of this point. This whole rally off of Mr. Fink's bullshit low there was nonsense. It was fluff. But here's another fantastic tool for you, folks. This is what's called the Willy. And the only reason why it's called the Willy is because I named it the Willy because I used to have a client of mine, hint, 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 his name was Willie, who used to always buy when markets were up top like this. He would be the guy who would call up here and say, I don't care what you're telling me about momentum divergences, Brian. I want to load up the farm on Bitcoin because all the kids on crypto are all getting rich off of Bitcoin and they're saying it's going to the moon. So I got to buy it. Yeah. All right. So I'll finish this thought and then we'll head over there. Thank you, sir. Have I mentioned how much I love Chris in my life? Oh man, you are awesome. Sure hope we can one day enjoy crops again together. Actually, we should make a point of it, although I'm not quite sure how we're going to do this. But there is sort of a thought that we were going to do a meetup in maybe sometime this fall, November, December, maybe late November, early December. I don't know. But I need to know for real how many people are serious about this. So I know we've been sort of bantering it about all summer. So can we make it like everybody watching this video, if you do want to come to the meetup, I think we were going to do it in like Southwestern Europe somewhere. We met up in Portugal a year or so ago. I don't know whether Chris is going to be back on Mallorca in for that period. But let's maybe, if we could plan to try and actually have that meeting this Saturday. For people who are really serious about this meetup, we're going to do kind of like a boot camp. Maybe we spend 1 week doing the boot camp and 1 week doing like sort of a crash course summary of the entire education program. Just go through it, like, just, you know, rock our way through it. I don't know, something along those lines. But maybe we should get together and really seriously talk about whether we really are serious about this. Start putting some firm numbers and stuff together. So anyway, okay, so just finish off this thought. This indicator, when the yellow line goes above -20, it officially means that the market is overbought. When it goes below -80, it means that the market is officially oversold. So as you can see, this indicator went overbought back when MACD was originally topping out, and it went overbought here, ironically enough, again, just over the past couple of weeks. And now you can actually see momentum is breaking as well. Here's another fantastic message for you. Fuck, we're just full of them. Anybody who's ever heard me talk about the use of RSI, you tell me. When we get M's that happen through the 50 line, there is the 50 line on RSI. Is that a signal? Hint, hint, hint. It's a pretty damn big signal. So, ironically enough, we can't even get bullish of Bitcoin until either one of two things happen. Julian likes to trade with trend lines. So my hunch here is that he will probably be paying close attention to how the market acts off of this level here and the test of this level. I would actually make the argument that this move right through here, through this low, actually establishes a new downtrend line. And I don't think Bitcoin's going to be bullish again until you actually start to see bullish structure on the other side of this trend line. Now, remember we said wicks and tails like to be eaten. Maybe we're coming into a head and shoulders neckline, right? The pattern would be boom, 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 right? So maybe on the test of Julian's uptrend line off of his RSI lows, we come into that level. That would make sense, and a pivot back up. But I don't think that this thing is a quote unquote bull again until you actually, because this has actually been confirmed now, until you actually see like W's on the other sides of this trend line. It's going to take a while to clean it. So really good anecdotal information. MACD told you to be cooling your jets there a while ago. RSI actually, and Willie told you that it was overbought and you had no business being a buyer here for quite a while now. And now RSI is actually spitting out, you know what, that's a big fat sell signal. And whenever we go through the 50 line on RSI, as I told you there a moment ago, TRIers know that that's a very, very big sell signal for me. So I'm not really in a big hurry to be a buyer of Bitcoins right now. What I would just simply say is if you are algo trading and lower time frame trading, okay, fine. You know, go have fun. You're a trader. Trade your setups. Trade your plan. Don't fall asleep on the couch and follow your plan. You know, if the algo tells you to buy, buy. If the algo tells you to sell, sell. And don't fall asleep on the couch. Good thing is, I suppose, for the time being, it's actually relatively happy. So we'll see. I mean, we might just roll right back over tomorrow. And as I had sort of said in the public announcements, I pointed it out here. We don't really have any bull divs to really tell me that this is a solid bottom here. And then if we look at like things like the 4-hour chart, I also reiterated that kind of thought. We have market oversold. But notice, look how MACD just went straight down and straight up. Don't like that. Also notice too, we have heavy, heavy sell pressure This volume impetus driving the OBV to new lows. Big confirmed M's on OBV. Where are the buyers? The buyers started to come back here in earnest. And that's actually what I think sort of put a floor in price. But you can see, that was this event right here. While the stock market was actually still open on Friday. And then literally since Friday, we've just gone sideways. A little bit of a buy signal on the algo, but I get the impression that that's almost kind of like, well, they just took the market too far, too fast. And now we need to do some sort of dead cat bounce. On your 4-hour chart, I think this is really easy. You could actually make the argument that this is like, it's almost a doji. It's pretty close. So let's just call that the top end of our current trading range. That is 26,289. Notice that high there. Also notice the 13 EMA. So if you see us up through this level and closing up here, higher highs and higher lows, then I think we're probably going to work our way higher. Conversely, if we go and M out here now, I think our little counter trend rally has exhausted itself. And you can see we're kind of flirting with breaking down here now. So, I mean, it's not even really that great of a level here to work with. And I don't see any bull div indications here, right? Had great bearish divergence, 3 confirmed divergences, RSI, MFI, MVI, and sure enough, and of course, algo sell signals, the whole damn thing falls apart. I don't even have any bullish divergence here, which is scary because that tells me that there probably needs to be some sort of FU move against these lows. Now, I don't know how high the dead cat bounce goes. Maybe we can rally all the way back up here. Maybe we do one of these Kraken things and we actually got to rally right back up into reload short zones. I don't know. Maybe. You never know in this crazy game. But before this is done, wicks and tails like to be eaten. There's a bunch of trap bears in there. My hunch is probably going to have to at least explore down here, create some divergence, and then we can turn back up in earnest. And I think this is, I thought it was interesting. Does it make sense that, if you're a bankster crook, you've got your big bankster orgy coming up here on the 25th of August? And if you haven't participated in the market, you're not really familiar with this. This is for U.S. Federal Reserve's big sort of get together where they all circle jerk. They all pat each other on the back. Oh, aren't central banks wonderful? Isn't it cool how we've taken over this entire society? Isn't it awesome how the Rothschilds run the world now? Oh, yay, 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 we're the best. And I actually think that they do this on purpose right in the face of Mount Rushmore, right? Like, where is Mount Rushmore in relation to Jackson Hole? I think that's fairly close. Can somebody correct me on that? And I think they did that on purpose because I noticed that every time there's some sort of icon that the American public can wrap their arms around as sort of extolling their freedom. And keep in mind, my country, well, there is no freedom. The banksters own us outright. And the banksters own, so it's not that close? No, okay. Well, anyway, it was kind of a fun thought. But I guess the point is that where is the U.S. Federal Reserve, which is not a government agency? It has no business whatsoever calling itself part of the government. Where is the U.S. Federal Reserve headquarters? It's right across the fucking street from Lincoln Memorial. And Lincoln, of course, was the one guy who tried to put the banksters out of business, right? And he even came up with the greenbacks, right? And General said, screw the fucking banksters. You want to win the war? Just go and print all your money you want. You'll do fine. And he did exactly that. The banksters got all angry at him. And of course, they murdered him in quick order. Of course, we can't say that. I think John Wilkes Booth, if I'm not mistaken, I think he did have a relationship with some Southern banker gentlemen, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, I digress. So what I'll just simply say here is, yes, we had a dump. It's interesting how the algo has turned back up. But at the same time, too, I don't have enough anecdotal evidence here to even remotely call a bottom just yet. That's the weekly chart. I think we're coming into trade location. Don't get me wrong. I kind of like this as a level, but I think it's going to take some work. And I guess the reason why I mentioned Jackson's Hole was that um, does it not make sense? They want to have these things as weak and as uh, how do you say this? As vulnerable as possible as they come into their big, oh, aren't we the central bankers wonderful? So that they can point through the symposium. I guarantee you, there are people who are going to say, "Oh, so what are your thoughts on Bitcoin?" And they're going to go, "Well, look what just happened. We'll open up the newspaper. Well, they're saying that Bitcoin price is crashing. What do you think of that as an investment idea?" Look how smart we are. When they probably were the guys who actually caused this to begin with. But anyway. And also, too, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of the stuff that you see going on in totalitarian dictatorships is conveniently going to fit nicely into their narrative as well. So, okay, that's about all the rhetoric I think I'm going to spit out today. I am going to say again, if you have the ability, just coming and listening to a guy like Sjord in our community is worth its weight in gold. He knows the fundamentals. If we can just sprinkle a little bit of timing in your purchases, FYI, even my portfolio, I went and bought this 78.6 off of this level. I never did add to the trade, but even off of this level, if we get up into this 2.5, these are the little old lady purchases that I did earlier in the year. I'll be happy to sell mine half on double. But Sjord himself for TRI has a sizable position in this name because I asked him, come up with some good fundamental ideas and then let's invest some serious money. So actually, I'm super pleased to see that Sjord's efforts are paying off for him. So that's great to see. And is that not a great testament of what we do at TRI? Just force yourself to come in, buy at the bottom end ranges. I mean, hell, you could have bought this big W, or you could be a real badass motherfucker and bought this little W. And looks like you're doing pretty well right now. And that's the whole point of this exercise. It's interesting too. Like I'm long a bunch of this thing and it keeps moving higher. I thought you said crypto was a bear. What's going on here? Why does this thing keep pushing higher? So just goes to show there's always a bull somewhere. Okay, enough of all that. Chris said there is one question in our Q&A document. So the question is, where the hell's that Q&A document? China, 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 don't get China. And actually, some people were trying to, what the hell's that? ZKSYNC. Wow, there's a tell you what, I don't really want to do requests from the audience here on YouTube today. What we usually do is we do requests from the student body if you have questions. So Luke, if you're a site member, maybe post the request on the site. What are you saying, Zook? Is that your request? It's a Chico recommended coin. Well, that's good. Actually, speaking of which, that's probably how I should finish off this video. Couple ideas for you to chew on. Obviously, you can't chew on him. We've already talked about him lots. Beautiful trade. Fucking A. Nice job, Sjord. Look at this one. So if you're a fan of Chico Crypto, look at that chart. Can you see the bullish momentum divergence that's come in here? This is a weekly price chart, folks. Weekly. Can you see Willie stupidly oversold here? Can you see the W's in RSI? The only thing that's missing here for me to turn into a crazy Uber bull is some sort of big buying green dildo bar here. But I'll tell you, man, that thing looks pretty damn juicy. Where's that guy? So there's, Eddie always likes me to flash an idea or two for you to think about while I'm on the road with Liam. Maybe get some value out of all this video aside from Brian's crazy rants. But look at that. I mean, what letter of the alphabet does that look like? So there you go, all you Chico crypto fans. I really like the look of this energy web down here. Fuck me, that just looks, I mean, that looks like that's a buy right there. So somebody put your neck, Brian wants to put his neck in the noose. I just don't know how to buy this because I don't really do the Uniswap. Maybe Sjord, if you're still watching, we can think about how we can go and pick up some more of this stuff. Jesus, that looks good right there. I mean, geez, it's so simple. Simple pimple. Oh, cool. Zug said he can buy me some more. All right. Well, cool. I'll be happy to take some off if you can go pick some up for me. This is Energy Web Token Bridge wrapped in Ether on Ethereum. Wow, there's a mouthful. This is the EWT versus USD. So I guess Ethereum must be kind of weak right now. Tell you what, maybe I tell you what, why don't we oh wow, what a level. Jesus, that's a good level. Yeah, that looks good. They even pulled a nice little FU there too. Tell you what, Zug, let's watch this. And if I get a W that comes in here, you can pull the trigger for me, or maybe Sjord can help me. But I'm definitely going to keep an eye on this thing. This thing just looks so juicy. So thanks, man. Appreciate that. You are awesome. And how's our Ubik looking? Oh, Jesus. These bastards. I wanted Ubik on the books. It's on the books. But keep in mind, this thing's so thin. I mean, it just doesn't trade anywhere. And of course, the Bitterx guys, they do up to their stupid games. But I don't mind being long this. But anyway, this is one that Zug and I bought. He bought it just because I was excited about it. So, I'm more than happy for you to bitch at me anytime you want about Alex Stirk and his crazy coin. Luke says KuCoin has it. That's at EWT. Where's crypto? There it is. EWT Kraken. It's on fucking Kraken. I didn't know that. Well, this should be easy to buy. Ah, interesting. Okay, well, maybe I'll just go buy it over there then. So, because I do have money on Kraken. Okay. I definitely like this guy, but if anything, I like to price things versus USD. I did see the chart versus Ethereum, and I saw the bottom, but if anything, this is a really good reason why I don't like to take these trades versus one crypto versus another, because this might just be an expression that Ethereum is going down in price. And EWT is not actually a bull. It's just less of a bear than Ethereum. So the fact that we haven't made a W here, definitely keep it on your radar screen. As soon as it does give us a half decent W, you should probably see things like bull divs. Yeah, you can see the bull div trying to form here. So if that does actually confirm, which it looks like it's trying to, Willie is stupid. Give us a nice W in price, and I think this will actually be a pretty good buy. Also, too, just off of ABCDs, if you're just sort of like, hey, I'm just going to nanny nibble little old lady, that's not a bad level to be nanny nibbling little old ladying down here as well. In fact, actually, this is probably one that I talked to Joe about. Okay, where can I find that question? Did you post the Q&A document, Chris? Oh, you did. All right, you're awesome. Okay, what time is it? Oh, I got 5 minutes. Oh, fuck me. God, it's incredible how quickly 2 hours go by. Did you guys enjoy this conversation today? Can you give me some feedback here? In fact, could you please, you guys watching this, I see there's 30, 40 of you watching. Could you all do me a favor and just post something in the comments about, yeah, Brian, I like what you're doing. I like the direction you're going. Just keep on, keep on. Don't listen to consultants. Don't listen to, quote unquote experts. Just keep doing what you're doing. If I get that feedback from you guys, then I will. But at the same time, too, just help me out here, all 40 of you. If you could go in the comments and say, yeah, Brian, love the content, but politics just a little too much. You got to cut that back, Or, Brian, I appreciate the fact that you think you're so beautiful, but man, you got to shave that mustache off. You look like an idiot. I don't know. So, all right, Nick. Oh, I love that talk. Ed says, good show, good show. All right, that's good. Zook says, I think trading crypto pairs stopped being a good idea somewhere in 2018. Okay. All right. So just please, if you could, just post a comment. Like it helps out a lot. You know, the Google algorithm and all that. And we're trying to make a positive difference in this world. So let's mind the people that are watching this video. Please help us out. Post a comment. Tell us what you think about this. Be brutally honest with me. I mean, the worst part about all of what I'm seeing is that the only comments that actually get posted are, hey, Bob Smith took 0.5 Bitcoin and turned it into $500 million for me. He's on WhatsApp at this price. And then fucking 20 comments. Oh, yeah, he's great. Oh, he's awesome. Oh, he's great. Oh, yeah. I mean, it's the bots are just taking over this shit. So, I mean, it's great to see the comments. Now, can you all just go and put a comment of exactly what you're commenting in the chat? I would greatly, greatly appreciate it. All right. Anyway, let's get on to this question. So, hi, Brian. I'm relatively new to TRI. Can you please explain what you mean when you say look left when analyzing a price chart? Well, I mean, it's really here's a perfect example. If we were sitting here a week or two ago, let's go right there. And, you can see that the price is making lower highs and lower lows. I mean, let's even get rid of this nonsense moving averages. And there, let's get rid of all this stupid squiggly lines and drawings and shit. Just keep it as simple as possible. Look left. Where is this market? If it is going down, where is it likely to stop? And the answer is it's likely to stop right here. Because that's the last time this thing was heading down and somebody started to buy and push the price back up. So if you see the market coming down like this, you look left, that's that direction, and you see, oh, gee whiz, the last time we had a major low was actually right there. So if I'm thinking about where this market is likely to stop going down, it's probably somewhere down in here. And lo and behold, I mean, this was the absolute perfect time for you to ask this question. Because lo and behold, what happened? Boom. And where did it stop? Well, as you can see, it stopped right in here. When you looked left, you saw this as the key low. So really, I might even argue, and remember I had said earlier, we don't really have any bullish divergences here. So could they maybe fuck around with the public and swim against this low that was put in late Friday and maybe first things Monday morning kind of stuff, just to break a whole bunch of kids' hearts that were calling bottoms in here? And there is your key low that you should keep an eye on. And that low is 24,756. Now, here's another comment that I think you can add to this. When you're looking left, try and add in this concept called BFRN. Now, what the hell does BFRN stand for? Anybody help? Who's the person who asked this question? Let's see if they left their name. Nope. So can you help Anonymous? Whoever this person is. What does BFRN stand for? Excellent, Adam. You are awesome. So is there any bigger, fatter, round number, big, fat, round number than $25,000? I mean, fuck me. If that isn't the biggest, fattest round number you've ever heard, I don't know what is. So notice when we look left, Remember that low, 24,756. And we know that the market loves to oscillate around big, fat, round numbers. Wow, what a surprise. They dumped it right into that level. So, yeah, I mean, there's tons, Cotter. I mean, that's what I did over here. So there's tons of levels, but we're speaking more, you know, we could probably come up with 20 different reasons why the market should come down here. So as you can see, Cotter's making reference to that being a 1.618, and that's probably a very realistic target. And also notice too, what is the number of that 1.618? It's 25,226. Again, look left, candle body lows for trade location, 88.6 fib retracements. Probably also too, we don't even have them on here, but I bet if we do like a fog and bomb off of this high back down to this low, oh, what a surprise. Look where we stopped, 2.618. So you can throw fog and bombs in here as well. So my hunch is there probably is some sort of bottom in and around this area, and really it shouldn't surprise us. So just speaking directly to that question, look left. Hopefully that's a really, really good reason why when you see the market coming down and you're thinking, where the heck is this thing going to stop? We're going to look left, right? And maybe you need like a little arrow. We are going to look left. Can we not make that any bigger? Darn. To try and figure out where this market is likely to stop going down and actually find some sort of support. All right. And then, like I said, add, Cotter's 1.618, wicks and tails like to be eaten, candle body lows for trade location, big fat round number, 38.2 first stop target. This is exactly what's supposed to happen here. Trend line support. I mean, it's remarkable how many reasons there were for the market to come down here. What a surprise it came down. I mean, whoa, what a shock. Okay, so on that note, we answered all the questions. If you have more questions, and of course, if you are a member of the community, we'll do it all again tomorrow in the after party. Mondays, I usually like to review the most recent system messages, things like key reversals and stuff like that on the site. So great reason to be a member of the site for Mondays. And by all means, if you are interested, feel free to join up for the free newsletter. You can get this in your email box when it's basically produced by Chris with the link to this show. But we'd love to, of course, have you come and actually join the site. I think that the information that the system is providing is absolutely invaluable. And if you fancy yourself a trader, the irony of it all is I've said that after I pass away, that's when this will become world famous. And my hunch is 100 years from now, people are going to be teaching this stuff just like we're all learning about WD GAN now. But while I'm still alive, probably not a hell of a lot is going to come of this. But take advantage of it. This stuff works, and what we teach works. I'd even encourage you, I suppose, while we're here, what's the link I'm supposed to use for the Broiler Chicken Show for the promo, Chris, for the school? Do you have that link handy? This is why I asked you to put those links in that document like that. So join like that. Course wait list. All right. So we do have, of course, a new school term starting up every September. It's the same thing. So you can see it starts in about 21 days. We also have a raffle. So this link will be in the description of the video, right? Chris? All right. So you're watching this now or you're watching this later on. You can all plunk your name and your email address into the raffle, and if you're really lucky, you win a course seat for free. If you just want to go ahead and book the actual course seat, then the enrollment is open. And by all means, if you happen to pay and you win the raffle, we'll credit it back to you, maybe for like a level 2 program or something. You get it for free. So great page to learn about what it is you're actually going to learn, and about the program, and also to get some great feedback from previous students about their experience with the education program. So do yourself a favor, and at the very least, sign up for the raffle. And maybe in I think about 2 or 3 weeks, we'll do the official raffle spin, and hell, you might just win a seat. I think I'm going to leave it at that for now. Was there anything else you can think of, Chris, that I should have mentioned here today that I forgot to?
Nope. Think we're good to go.
All right. Why don't we leave it at that? Hope you guys got some good value. Please, great to see lots of you have hit the like button, so I appreciate that. Tell a friend. Hopefully you guys have had lots of journal entries here that you're learning from. Hell, I know one guy who literally spent like 2 or 3 years just watching all the free content on YouTube, and he literally built an entire user manual of how to trade based on him watching the free shows. If you need help, and keep in mind, a lot of people need help with education. They're not self-learners. Some people are, some people aren't. If you need help, that's the whole reason why we put the school program together. And it is the most thorough educational program about learning this thing called the process that I've ever seen online. I'm very proud of it. Very proud of our instructors. They're brilliant people. It's understandable that things are relatively quiet now, given the state of crypto, and especially with the way price broke. So do yourself a favor if you do have the opportunity. Keep in mind the program for level 1 is dirt cheap. It's only like $1,000. If you can take advantage of it, this class sizes are relatively small now. So you get like one-on-one attention from the instructors and from the TAs, and come on the daily briefs and you can ask me all the questions you want. So it's incredible value for your money spent. I guess the only thing I'm going to leave off with here is Constantine reminded me to ask all of you. I am the father of a special needs child. He's 23 now. Don't know whether he's still a child or not, but he'll always be my baby in my eyes. He'll always be my wife's baby, and it's my responsibility. Try and give him the best job, best life I possibly can. And that's my promise to you, Jojo. So I'm going to leave you all now and go and do my real job, which is to try and give this boy the best afternoon, evening possible. I do this twice a week for him, take him out of sort of in his institutional setting. And Lord willing, I've asked you, Jojo, and God, and Jesus, and anybody else, if you could help us transition into a non-institutional based life for him. That's exactly what I'm here to do. So please help me. But all of you, if you could just say a small prayer for him. He suffers from ASD. He's low functioning. Life is very difficult for him. And I actually believe that all of your karmic best wishes actually does make a positive difference for him. Every time I ask all of you to do this, well, I'm not going to say every time, because the one time I do that, it won't work. But generally speaking, he's in a good spirits, and we have a fun afternoon. So just say a nice positive karmic wish for us. PMA for the win. If you are interested in that boot camp, please, I need to know sooner rather than later, because we actually do have to start making some commitments and booking places. So send me DMs, send me PMs, go into the boot camp room on the Discord that we have, and let's start firming up. And if anything, I'd almost like if we could, and maybe Chris, hearing that you're volunteering. What a great guy Chris is to volunteer. I don't know. He's so awesome. But maybe uh, we need to have somebody who's going to quarterback this boot camp. There you go. Somebody's already asking. So BP, come on the site and let's have a meeting in the next week or so and really firm this up. So we can get some numbers. And, maybe if somebody would like to quarterback this, TRI will pick up the bill for your managing the Airbnb project. And then that way, you can participate in the boot camp for free. So there's a nice olive branch for all of you guys. Olive, I don't know that's okay. I got to get out of here. You can see what time it is. PMA for the win. I'll talk more about the boot camp and stuff tomorrow in the daily brief and stuff. Slow and steady wins the race. Don't take no wooden nickels. Remember what your number one job as a trader is. Hugs and kisses. All the best. Wish us luck on the road this afternoon. And the only thing left Brian to say is bye for now.